Generations ago, writers used to scribble notes in the margins of their stories to communicate with people reading their work. Writing has always been a way for the author and reader to communicate. The difference now is that writing, reading, and researching aren't relegated to the elite few. Although the participation gap is not closed, more people than ever are producing and consuming text and media. Thus, we have access to a constant stream of information, especially online. To help manage this information, social bookmarking and tagging were introduced in the early 2000s. Thanks to people more technically capable than me, we can now classify, annotate, edit, and share information with a click of a button. We can spark a conversation with authors and people in the field in ways we never could before. Now the task for teachers and students is to learn how to collaborate with people and tools that are present physically and virtually. To do this, we must call upon the powers of media and information literacy. It's hard to imagine a time when people who are researching something had to go down to the library and rely on the work of administrators to tag and sort information. In fact, research could be an isolating experience. Nowadays, we can use technology to engage in the process of reading, researching, and writing, rather than seeing these as end products. We can also easily access the collective intelligence of others, such as librarians, peers, or even strangers through social bookmarking sites. In a world where information is constantly in flux, we need opportunities to reflect on our experiences and discuss what we are learning. We need access to differing viewpoints and resources that shake up our perspectives and the notion that knowledge and learning are fixed. However, if we apply the traditional ways of doing research or an outdated framework of information literacy to a socio-cultural context that has changed, then we are going to struggle bridging physical and technical spaces. For example, if we use Delicious to simply store a bunch of web links, like books on a shelf, then we are not affording students with the opportunity to contribute their own understanding to something much bigger than themselves. Social bookmarking and tagging sites such as Delicious can be very effective tools to situate and distribute knowledge, especially when we consider how much of the information that students turn to is on the web. However, participating in these spaces doesn't mean that students will know what to do with the information they find. If they're not taught to be critical consumers and producers, or know when to access the appropriate help, the information they find isn't going to be very useful. It's easy to use this type of technology in a way that becomes disconnected from learning. Instead of building on new knowledge and making connections to previous knowledge, social bookmarking and tagging can be used as a form of passive learning. As well, many students probably have lots of experience using social bookmarking in informal learning spaces. However, the information and media literacy skills don't always transfer. In formal and informal settings, students must understand how different networks function and how social and cultural context within different information emerges. To make research interesting and relevant, information and media literacy skills can be taught in the context of doing research, of comparing sources, and of understanding the social, political, and economical forces that shape the information and media that gets produced and circulated. Like all technology, social bookmarking and tagging have limitations. For example, tagging may make it difficult for students to distinguish between credible research and popular media. It can also perpetuate the spread of misinformation. Social media has caught on to tagging, and some corporations use catchy tags to exploit their users, with many students in the dark about these practices. Thus, the need for educators to teach relevant literacy skills within a social justice framework is more critical than ever before. We might engage students in the following critical conversations. For all we know, Delicious may not be around in the coming years. In fact, the technology we use to manage and interpret information and media will change. But the ability to do research and effectively use information will always be important, regardless of the platform. No matter how students decide to share their knowledge with the world, they will need the skills to be resourceful in a legal and ethical way. They will also require assistance to understand how to manipulate a tool, such as Delicious or Twitter or Pinterest, recognize the biases built into these platforms, and create new knowledge they're passionate about for others to benefit from.